Hello, guys. My name is Mingyu.
And I'm Trisha Abu. We're Vice President and President of the Music Industry Club.
Yes. And we just want to welcome everyone to our first Music Industry Club's digital exclusive at Cal State Fullerton. Today, we're extremely excited and honored to have David 51 Norman with us today. So yeah, how are you, 51?
I am awesome, and thanks for having me today. I'm super excited about this.
Love that. We're so excited to have you here. And I know as a music industry veteran, I know you have a lot to say and a lot to offer for us students. But yeah, I guess just starting right into it, do you mind giving us a quick introduction of what you do, who you are, maybe past gigs, and what you're up to?
Okay. My name, as Mingyu said, I'm David 51 Norman. I'm a tour director, tour manager, production manager, and tour accountant. I've also worked as a promoter rep for Live Nation, which was several years ago. I'm currently Tyler, the Creator's production manager and tour accountant. But in the past, I've also worked with Prince, Green Day, Alicia Keys, John Legend, Dream Theater, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, King Crimson, Goo Goo Dolls, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and many others. My last gig was with Earth, Wind, and Fire as tour manager and tour accountant.
Literally love all of them. Earth, Wind, and Fire, Tyler, the Creator, love all of them. That's really amazing. But wanted to ask, how did you get into the industry?
Frustrated musician. I used to play drums. I still play drums, but I used to play in top 40 cover bands. And when I was in high school, I played in believe it or not, a Rush cover band. We played 90% Rush, but we also played like Def Leppard, Led Zeppelin, that kind of stuff. And when I was 18, I was on the road and I got a phone call that both my parents were in a car accident. So I lost both my parents. And I kind of lost a love for playing drums, but I still wanted to be involved in the music scene. But I wanted to be on the other side of it. So with the inheritance that my parents left me, I bought a recording studio and found someone who taught me how to engineer and mix. And one of the groups who came through my studio actually got signed to Motown Records. And when they went on the road, they were from a small town and really hadn't traveled very far. So when they went on the road, they said, "Hey, would you come out and mix the shows for us?" I said, "Sure." And then it came into, "Hey, well, since you're a drummer, do you mind setting up the drum kit?" Kind of like being a backline guy. Sure. "Hey, you also, own a recording studio and you know how to set up the keyboard rig and guitars. Could you do that also?" "Okay. You're older than us. Do you mind driving the van and trailer?" Okay. And then it became, I was doing everything on the tour. And when they finally went on the road, they were opening up for a major band. And that tour manager was actually leaving to go work with Prince. And she said, "Hey, I've noticed that you can pretty much do everything. And, you just kind of knock it out of the park. Would you like to take the jump up?" And I said, let's see, I'm doing 12 different jobs, getting paid for one. I can go on the road with the headline act. I will be on a bus in a bunk, and all I have to do is tour manage and mix. "Oh yeah, definitely. I want that gig. Oh, and there's more money. Oh yeah, I definitely want that gig." So, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. I worked with several R&B acts, but being a person of color, you kind of get pigeonholed in just doing R&B or hip hop and rap. And I wanted to do other things. I wanted to do jazz. I wanted to do rock. I wanted to do country because all of those acts came through my studio. So I learned a little bit of all of those genres. So, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I was lucky enough to be in several positions where management firms or bands didn't look at my color as being a hindrance. It actually worked out in my favor many times. So that's my story there.
Yeah. Oh, I always love listening to that story. Like, it's just so motivational. You like building something and then just having like such a go-getter attitude and just being open to do everything and anything and really leading you to where you are today. That's honestly amazing. Honestly.
Thank you.
Quick side question. Is your studio still open? Is it still running today?
Oh, no, no. I sold it. It became a hindrance because I was on the road mixing, and then I'd come off the road and then I'd mix. And I was trying to run the business while I was on the road, and it became too much. So I had to choose one or the other. And I actually ended up selling it many, many years ago. And then when I moved to Atlanta, I worked at several recording studios here in Atlanta, engineering and mixing and producing also, but haven't really engineered in several years because I just really wanted to concentrate on the touring stuff more so.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fair. That's really cool. So previously you mentioned that you had a lot of different positions and like tour managers, tour coordinators, but I feel like not a lot of people know a lot about tour accountants. And if I recall, that is one of your favorite roles. Do you mind talking more about like some of the responsibilities of it and why you like it so much?
I was always really good at math in school, and I've always loved numbers. So my job as tour accountant, the things that I love about it is I love putting together tour budgets because you're having to bring all of these different elements, like all the vendors, trucks, buses, people's salaries, per diem, all of that stuff. And then you have to build a budget against what the artist is going to be making, and just to ensure that the artist is going to make money, make a profit at the end of the tour, not a loss. So it's juggling that I really, really enjoy. And then also when I'm out on tour, just as tour accountant, there's less personalities I have to deal with because I'm basically dealing with 2 or 3 people and numbers. Whereas when I'm tour director or tour manager, production manager, I'm dealing with hundreds of people on a daily basis. So, and I love settling shows, try to get the most money for an artist as possible, because that in the end game, that's what it's all about, is the artist making money.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fair. I like how you said that. Like problems could be like so different many solutions to give, but like numbers are numbers, right? Like once you figure it out, there's that one number.
Yep.
Totally makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah. As a tour accountant, I bet you have to work with a lot of documents, and I know like you and many other tour accountants, they always say Excel. It's like one of the biggest apps you can use. But more other than that, what are some of the documents that tour accountants and all the other positions you've worked with work as? What documents do you guys really work with or make, if that makes sense?
For accounting wise,
yeah,
budgets, which is the big thing. Per diem sheets, when we were paying people out on the road, salaries. And then I would say the biggest one as a tour accountant is settling the shows. So you have a settlement document where you take all of the expenses from a particular show and just make sure that the artist really, really gets paid. Some tour accountants I know use Quicken for some things. I've never found it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just cumbersome for me. Like with an Excel spreadsheet, I can build and manipulate formulas very, very quickly. Whereas in Quicken, I found that it was very kind of clunky, but not saying anything bad against it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Gotcha. Cool. I guess we can move on to what is something in the touring industry that you didn't really expect, or what is something really unique about it?
I love the uniqueness of being around people of different colors, races, creeds, sexuality, religions. I love that stuff because I think that the more people that you have that are different than you makes you more well-rounded and makes the tour a lot more well-rounded, because you're not just, everyone just doesn't think the same. But if you're getting different ideas and suggestions from people who are different than you, I think that just makes everything so much better. I love meeting new people when I'm out on tour. And I know you can't see my stomach, but I'm a pretty hefty, stocky guy, and I love food. So I love trying different foods in different countries. My father was in the service, and one of the things that he taught us is like, try everything, because it might look yucky, it might smell yucky, but if you try it, at least you know that you really don't like it. But who knows, you might really enjoy some stuff. So some of the best food I've actually had, and I love all Asian food pretty much. And I would say I've tried many different types of food in Africa also. And, most people would say, God, how could you eat that? I'm like, just try it. You don't know if you don't like it or not. You haven't tried it.
Mhm.
So, yep. So those would be the things that I find unique and that I really, really enjoy on the road. And I just love to travel, coming from a military family, we travel quite a bit. So,
Oh, for sure, for sure.
mhm.
Definitely getting to experience different cultures, and I bet like at tours your catering is always top notch. Or I mean, if I assume.
When I'm carrying caterers on tour, yes. But when you're depending on catering at the various venues, it could be a hit or miss. And I
Gotcha.
have in my database great catering at this venue. So when I come back, I know, or don't ever hire this caterer again,
Mhm.
or catering was pretty bad here. So,
I love how you keep track of that. It's
oh yeah.
business. It really is.
Mhm.
No, I really love what you said about just diversity. I know that not just the music industry, but other parts of the entertainment industry, diversity has always been kind of something we all really need to work on, but it's just so amazing seeing more, like women executive, more people of
Mhm.
color,
Yep.
more different backgrounds coming in.
Mhm.
And yeah, for sure. Diversity, sustainability as well, big topics.
Yep.
I did remember what I wanted to ask about
Okay.
tour accountant. So you mentioned per diems and salaries. I know that most tour people are freelance, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, just wondering how payment works or how per diems work. Just maybe, yeah.
Per diems work, it's pretty much most touring people outside of um, staff that works for a vendor directly are independent contractors. Most of us are. So per diem is based on usually Monday through Sunday, and it's all per diem is based on a number that's all relative and different depending on the size and scope of the tour that you're on. Some tours, per diem is very low because they're not really making a whole lot of money and they really don't have a whole lot of staff. And then on larger tours, per diem is much higher because you really don't have a whole lot of time off because you have so many shows and your shows are so large. So many tours now I'm seeing that people are including their per diem directly in their salaries.
Mhm.
And a lot of times your salaries goes direct deposit right into your account. So I'm not physically handing people out their whole salaries on the road.
Yeah.
And there are some tours where I do pay people per diem on the road and the rest of their salary goes direct deposit into their account. But that's pretty much the gist of it. We're pretty much independent contractors, and being an independent contractor, you're responsible for your own insurance and all that stuff. So, but the artist that you travel with has general insurance over the tour. So if someone does get injured or hurt on the tour, we do have something to fall back on to kind of help us out.
Mhm. And I feel like that's super important too.
Mhm.
So most everyone get paid through like the per diem process, right? Is there like different
Yeah.
people getting?
Yeah. So the vendors, their staff, like the lighting company, sound company, those people that we hire directly,
Mhm.
usually their per diem is paid by the vendors themselves, and their salary is paid by the vendors also.
Ah, gotcha.
And usually the vendors, their health insurance covers their particular staff. So I know I'm explaining it in a very roundabout, difficult way, but our touring industry is not normal.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what makes it really cool and interesting. You're always on your feet.
Mhm.
Um, moving on to, so I know you mentioned you worked at Live Nation before, and
Mhm.
that's a company,
Mhm.
and now you're really doing a lot of tours and whatnot. I guess to those who aren't familiar to what a freelance person is, what's a freelance person, and um, do you mind just like comparing the two? Like, what do you like one better? Or do you like the perks of one, etc.?
No, I meant for me, a freelance person is basically an independent contractor.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're working for a large conglomerate like Live Nation, AEG, you're employed by them. So you do get some benefits like health benefits, those type of things. But when you're an independent contractor / freelance person, you're pretty much on your own as far as insurance and stuff. So those are the two things. I am not a corporate person. So I don't like being on several Zoom calls or chats or meetings and stuff. I'm one of those people. I'm pretty much an introvert. So give me what the task is and I'll go accomplish the task. I don't need or want someone to kind of micromanage me, because then it just kind of slows me down. So, but everyone works differently and everyone is not an introvert. And so I have no qualms or beefs with people who are different than me, because that's just life. Everyone's different. Everyone works differently. So,
and I feel like a really cool thing about being a freelance person is that you could jump from, going from Earth, Wind, and Fire, going to Tyler the Creator, going back to this person, going back to that person. And I feel like that's just a really cool thing to just kind of jump around for sure. I guess since we're on the topic of Live Nation, I was wondering if you could talk about your experience with the company. And you said you were a promoter rep, right?
Here in Atlanta. So it's basically the same thing that I do touring wise, except on the other side of the table. So whereas when I'm tour manager or tour director or anything like that, my emphasis is on taking care of the artist and making the artist money. Whereas when I'm promoter rep, it's taking care of the show overall, but also making as much money for the company as possible. So I think the thing that I really enjoyed about it is it taught me to learn to see things from a different aspect. So now when I'm settling shows, I know from the other side of, man, they're hemorrhaging money on this show. So where can me or we as a tour cut back on certain things to not make it so much a bloodbath for the promoter losing money? So, there's small things that you do. Do we really need to have 3 runners that day? Can we cut back to 2? Do we really need to have all this alcohol in the dressing rooms? Can we cut back on some catering? There's just small things. And promoters will always remember that when they're booking that particular band again, or they know you're going to be on the tour, because they know that you're going to be a person who's easy to work with and that you understand the dynamics of a show and see the bigger picture. Whereas, there's some people like, I want everything. I don't care if you're losing money. That's the promoter. That's your responsibility. And I just think that just kills not only the vibe of the show, the energy of the show, but it makes it more of an adversarial thing. Whereas as a show between the artist and the promoter, you're working together to be conducive to make the show a huge success. You don't need to be adversarial. So look at things, it's almost like an empathy kind of thing. See what the other person is going through and try to help them through it. And if it's no skin off your back, who's it really hurting? You're just overall making the whole situation much easier, much better to deal with.
Exactly. I feel like respect is just such a major thing that it really goes both ways. And sometimes if you're in the heat of the situation, during a show, you could definitely forget. And even creatives too. I guess since we're on that topic, kind of a fun quick question, have you what are some of the bad experiences you've had with some creatives and some artists, and maybe good experiences as well?
The bad experiences I would say are just people who don't see the bigger picture. It's just me, are kind of selfish. But I also think that some of the great things about it is, again, meeting new people, forging new relationships. having new friends that you would have never thought that you would have. When I worked in the country world for a while, I met some amazing people who opened me, I just opened their arms to me. And, I'm still very good, close friends with them that I call them for advice and stuff. And, we are from two different worlds. And sometimes when they need help, I'm like, hey, I really don't know anything about this type of music or this artist. Can you help us out? Like, absolutely. So, everything goes hand in hand. So, and it's such a small industry. Everyone's going to know if you help them out or if you didn't help them out, if you're a difficult person to work with, you're not difficult. It's all going to come back around to you one way or the other. So just have the empathy and help people out, because in the end, that's the end goal for not only touring, but for life itself. Help out your common man.
Exactly. That's actually a perfect segue into one of my questions. And I feel like you can't have a music industry panel without mentioning how important networking is. So wanted to ask you, what are some, like, how important networking is in the touring industry specifically, and any tips on how to do that for students?
Okay. Can I also tie it into networking for college students who are going to be coming out of college, getting ready to get into the work world? One of the things that I've led classes at several other universities, and I was an adjunct professor this past summer with my good friend Mary Jo Katska, and we were adjunct professors at William Patterson University. And one of the things that we've taught our students is, during the downtime of the pandemic, one of the things we ask students is, how many of you reached out via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn to people that you look up to that could actually help you with your career, or, just to ask them, can I speak with you? And a lot of most students said, none of us have actually done it. And I said, well, why not? I mean, like, all of us are older people, who are in the touring industry. We're just sitting around. We had nothing to do. And I told the students, I said, the worst thing that could happen is that someone wouldn't respond, or someone would just say, no, I don't have time for you. But the best thing that could happen is that they would say, sure, ask me any questions that you want. Because that's the way that we network and learn. And I also tell students that there's no question that's a stupid question, because if you don't ask, you don't know. So, and don't be scared to ask questions. I'm 59 years old, and I have a lot of mentors who are much younger than me, and I lean on them for dealing with social media stuff, dealing with questions that I'm not sure of. And, I caught myself the other day. I said, hey, this might be a stupid question. I said, oh, hold on one second. I didn't mean to say that this might be a stupid question. I have a question for you if you could help me out. And I just spoke at the Launch Music Business Conference in Pennsylvania last week. And a lot of people came up to me and said, what's the best way to network? And I said, you guys right now have social media at your fingertips. You can find anyone, their email address, their phone number, website, anything. Reach out to people. It's not going to hurt you just by reaching out. And networking is the strongest thing. I can't tell you how many students who are my mentees now that still reach out to me and say, hey, I have a question. Hey, I heard about this lead. And a lot of times if I hear of certain things, job offerings or those things, I'll send those out to students and say, hey, this might be of interest to you and it might be helpful. Here it is. I'm going to leave it with you to follow up on. If you are scared, or if you don't want to follow up on, that's not on me, that's on you. If you want to further your career or further your network, follow through on it. Don't procrastinate. A lot of times people go, oh, well, I'll get to it next week. Then next week rolls around and then something else comes up, and then, okay, I'll get to it next week. And then by then, the third week, they'll finally reach out and they say, oh, well, we've already filled this position 2 weeks ago because that person procrastinated. So I still network to this day. A lot of my tour accountant mentors, out of the 9 that I have, 8 of them are female, and I can lean on them if I'm having problems or issues dealing with settlement sheets or building a budget or anything like that. And I'm still learning. Again, I'm 59 years old. You're never too old to learn. You're never too old to network. And networking is just going to better you in life, because you're going to learn how to talk to people. You're going to learn how to present yourself. You're going to learn how to speak. You're going to learn how to move on to the next phase in life. So network, network, network. You've got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know, you have no excuse to not try to network. And all these music conferences that are coming out right now, there's one that I'm doing in November, which I will probably, hold on, I have to remember the name. It's the Rock Lidditz live event career exploration conference, which is November 11th in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, and it's mostly for students. I'm going to put the link here in the chat for you if you want to share it.
Yeah, of course.
With people, with students. And there you go. And I'll be speaking at that conference, and it's a great one for students if they want to try to get there.
For sure. Loved everything you say. Really, like, we don't have any excuse. We have social media, we have LinkedIn, and also so many other resources.
And how do we meet?
Through LinkedIn, me reaching out to you. Exactly. And it's really true. There is no qualms or fears for people to not reach out. And the worst thing they say is like, no, sorry, or they just don't read it, and that's okay. You know, that's life. And also to people watching this right now and going to clubs and clubs on your campuses, clubs, outside clubs as well. You're doing a great first step into gaining information from this panel and connecting with people and coming out to club events. That's also a wonderful way. And personally, I mean, plugging like other organizations that I know, there's many organizations that connect students with mentors. I just did one with the new organization, 1520 Vision, where I met
Stacey Morales.
Yes. See, networking, everyone knows everyone. Yeah, and I met Alex Prince that you worked with. Tyler the Creator, exactly.
He's amazing. Not only as a production coordinator, but as a person as a whole, he is amazing. Exactly.
And there's countless organizations. I know, perfect segue, I know you are on the board with Well Done, and there's also resources on YouTube. I know you do Tour Management 101, a wonderful YouTube channel for people to check out. Yeah, I guess that's an awesome segue for you to plug that and maybe just tell your experiences with those two and other organizations you're a part of.
Well, at TM 101, it was initially started by Doug Wilson and Mark Clark, who are two great tour managers. And then Henry Bordeaux, who's the tour manager for Tyler the Creator, and Olivia Rodrigo.
Yes, wonderful.
Came on board. And then Mary Jo Katska, who's one of my accounting mentors. I look up to her big time. And Adrienne Biondo, who is also a great tour manager. And I came on starting in episode 4. I'm the old dude on the panel. But it's great. I think we've done 78, 79 episodes, which are all on YouTube, and it's all about tour managing, production managing, accounting, dealing with stuff on the road. And we've had some amazing people who've come on our show. Like we've had people who've worked with the Rolling Stones, U2. We've had people who've worked with smaller bands. And you can just gain a wealth of knowledge and wisdom just by watching TM 101. And there's another one that everyone should tune into, and it's run by Jen Kellogg. She teaches at the University of Chicago, I believe it is. And it's called Concert Business Basics. So check that one out also. And then on Well Done organization, we help students find internships and mentorships. And when students have an unpaid internship, we try to help them out with a small stipend to kind of offset some of the cost of like food and driving and those type of things. And we also help them with mentors. So it's it's an amazing, amazing, amazing organization. Well done. So it's WELLDUNN.org. So check that out.
For sure. And not to mention the TM 101 completely free on YouTube.
Yep.
And so many other resources as well. And many new apps coming up. Like I know Clubhouse has been really, really big with discussions. Clubhouse, people who don't know, it's an app where you go into different rooms and just hear people. It's like audio based, really cool. And I know Spotify released something of that sort, Twitter, maybe something of that sort. So many new resources coming out, definitely for people to check out, for sure.
Clubhouse is free.
Clubhouse is free. I believe right now it's only for iOS users, but they're working on Android.
I believe that they just released that and it's available for Android phones now.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So many resources for y'all. Thank you for that. Let's see. One of the interesting questions I wanted to ask is, what do you think the future of touring looks like? And what are some changes that you like to see? What are some changes you don't want to happen?
I think that the future of touring, with coming out of this pandemic eventually, that's changed everything, how people are going to deal with cleanliness, wiping down the buses and things like that. One of the things that I have seen right now is based on, it's so politicized right now, COVID is, that one of the things that I'm seeing, and I'm getting several phone calls from several different production managers or tour managers or managers, is that, hey, do you have any phone numbers for bus drivers? Because some of my bus drivers, and most of the buses come out of Nashville, heavy red state. Some of my bus drivers don't want to get vaccinated, and we have a mandate on our tour that everyone has to be fully vaccinated. So some of the drivers are saying, well, we don't want to get vaccinated, so we have to find drivers. So that's one of the big things that we're seeing right now, is people who don't want to get vaccinated are kind of digging their own grave right now. I've lost a carpenter on my tour because he didn't want to get vaccinated. And I said, well, look, this comes down from the top. So you're either going to have to get vaccinated or I'm going to have to find someone else. And he said, well, is there a way I can get around that? I'm like, no, you have to be fully vaccinated. And that's one big thing. Coming also during the pandemic, and with everything that happened with George Floyd and other Black things that have happened, but a lot of that's been going on for hundreds of years. But with the advent of everyone having a video recorder on their phone, we're now seeing that a lot of times these things aren't as what they truly are portrayed in the media. And now that we have video to prove that's not what really happened, I'm now seeing that a lot of people, especially large organizations like Live Nation, AEG, are now really pushing for diversity on tours and inclusion of having women, because two of the big things that I'm seeing, and I'm really glad to see, is that more people of color and more women are getting hired for tours. And, people of color and women, we have to fight 3 times harder than a white male to get on a tour or to prove ourselves. Or if we make a mistake, we're like, you're one chance and then you're out. Whereas the white male gets multiple chances and multiple times of proving themselves, or even if they did something wrong, we're just going to pat you in the back. We're just going to give you a slap on the wrist. Whereas people of color and women, we're like, you're out. So, we don't even want to give you a second chance or anything. So I am glad to see that we're getting more inclusion, more diversity on tours. And on Tyler, the Creator, when I got hired, Tyler is a person of color. He wanted a person of color in the production manager role. Henry Bordeaux, our tour manager, is Filipino. And so when I was able to start hiring people, the first person I hired was a female stage manager. Her name is Warrior, who is amazing also. And I also hired a Black female carpenter. My head carpenter was out with me on Prince for a couple of tours. And we hired my head rigger. He's Black. He's been on other tours with me. My other carpenter, Courtney, has been on several tours with me, who's a person of color. So you see the whole gamut out on Untitled Creator Tour. You see Asian, you see Black, you see gay, you see straight, you see different religions, and we all work as a team. And that's a great thing to see. So I'm really glad to see that coming out of the pandemic, and it had good things, but it also had bad things. People lost their work. Several people had to pivot to support their families and things like that. But the good thing is that people are now a little bit more health conscious, and people are a little bit more, their minds and their eyes are open more. So hiring more of us. So
yeah,
because look at the three of us on this screen right now.
Yeah,
that's diversity right there.
And we'd love to see it.
Love to see it. That's honestly so amazing and so motivational to hear. So like just imagining whoever is like watching this or anything, like that it's possible, and it definitely is getting more and more impossible.
Yep.
Yeah. And honestly, going back to just respect and just respecting yourself, respecting one another, respecting science, respecting ideologies. Yeah, super big factors and bases in the industry for sure.
Yep.
Let's see.
Not to say I have anything against white males, because a lot of white males have hired me for tours. A lot of white people, especially in the country world, have hired me for tours, which is kind of unusual, because in the country world, the Black people that you see on those tours are usually the bus drivers or truck drivers or in the band. You know, you never have a person who I don't want to use the word authority, you know, like tour manager, production manager, or tour cam, but you don't have a person of color in a lead position.
Yeah.
And people are starting to open their minds and their eyes to that, hey, they can do the job just as good as anyone else. So let's give them a chance.
Yeah. And diversity, there's nothing wrong with diversity. There's nothing bad about diversity. And
nope.
Exactly. Just having different people that teaches you not different perspectives and different cultural perspectives. Just, it's amazing all around.
Teaches you empathy also.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. I did have this one question. It was kind of a quick, fun question. You've been on many, many tours, and obviously over the years, production levels and visuals have been getting more and more intense, more and more really amazing. What are some of the really cool visuals and productions that you see on shows that you've worked with? See, personally, I love when like an artist like flies around, or when they use like pyro or whatnot, and just using the arena to the best of their abilities. I
would say the most interesting thing that when I'm off the road, I don't want to go see a show. You know, like a lot of my friends will come to town. They'll say, hey, you want to come down and see the show? I'm like, no, why would I want to go see another show? But one of my friends who worked with Pink. Yeah. Derek Wilson, who's the production coordinator, and Malcolm Weldon, who's the production manager. And they had also worked with Sade. And when I was with John Legend, you know, we opened for Sade. So they went on to work with Pink, and Malcolm said, dude, you got to come down and see this show. I was like, what could she do that? Like, I'm not even familiar with her music. Says, come down, we'll treat you like a king. You know, we'll get you tickets down to the front of the row. And when she flew from the stage up over the audience to like different sides, I was like, okay, I am freaking out right now. This is so cool. And then I also think that when I went to Vegas to see, I've never been a Cirque du Soleil fan, but when I was in Vegas, I went to go see O, you know, the one that's in the water. And their curtain, I had never seen this, what we call a gag, which is special effect. They had this grand drape that covered the stage, so no one could see until they started the show. And it went up into the ceiling, which we call a sniffer drop. My mouth dropped open. I was like, what the hell? That is amazing. So those were two things. When I was out on Fall Out Boy, we had a magic trick gag where the guys would go behind a panel and the lights from behind would silhouette them.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't them. We had people who in silhouette kind of portrayed them, and the band appeared at the front of house mix position in the back of the house.
Oh,
and people freaked out when they saw it for the first time. Like, how did they get from there to there in the matter of like 10 seconds or so? So that was one of my favorite gags. I loved working with Green Day because they were so unpredictable.
Oh yeah.
And then just seeing Prince every night that's a treat right there. He was probably one of the most amazing musicians ever. He's very difficult to work with, but he taught you a lot. And you could be upset and you could be tired and stressed out. But man, once you got on stage, you would go, God, that guy is good. You can't be too mad at him.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, and Trisha just mentioned how Tyler's BET performance was insane with the win, with the visual, with the car.
Oh, did you see our Lollapalooza performance?
I saw most of it. I did see most.
Go on YouTube because we have a boat.
Yes.
When we're doing all these festivals, and the boat kind of goes up and down and kind of so.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of pyro. So if you guys get a chance, go on YouTube and watch Tyler's Lollapalooza performance from this year, because it is mind-blowing. That guy's he's definitely a visionary as far as what he wants to do show-wise.
Trailblazer for sure. Wanted to ask, so for all those like really cool visuals and creatives, I know the artist definitely has a say in that, but who really helps bring that idea out?
Usually the creative designer or the set designer. For Tyler, he has this amazing gentleman from England. His name is Alex Reardon, who is very, very much a trailblazer as far as putting and designing shows. So it usually starts with the artist, what they want to see or what they want to do, their vision, and then they give it to like a creative designer or a set designer or a show designer, and they kind of put all the elements together, and then they pass it down to me, and I go out to different vendors to try to make it happen. For the Tyler BET thing, a lot of the help was through a company called 1826, and a lot of help with Henry, our tour manager.
Oh wow.
Along with Alex Reardon, kind of put all that stuff together. So there's a lot of people that are involved in putting it all together, having the set built and everything. And then it's my job to move it from one place to another in a safe manner. And so
what position is that? Are you for you to move one to the other place?
I'm production coordinator. No, I'm production manager.
Okay.
And tour accountant for Tyler.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Amazing. So wrapping up before, but I did have one or two more questions.
Okay.
During the show, during the artist is on the stage, everything's screaming. Where are most people? So obviously audio technicians are in the back. But yeah, where is the tour manager usually, the production coordinator, etc.?
That's usually our kind of quiet time. So we're usually making sure that if the artist is leaving right after the show, that the vehicles are backstage and ready to go. We're also calling ahead to the hotel to let them know, give them an update on about what time that we're going to be arriving. If we're staying overnight and flying the next day, just making sure that ground transportation is set up for us. And as tour accountant, I'm settling the show, making sure that all the expenses and all that stuff, and making sure the bank wire goes through the following day. And sometimes, once we're done with all that, we'll go out and watch some of the show and just make sure when the artist is coming off stage that they're supposed to be where they're supposed to be, either going to the dressing room or getting right into a car or getting right on the bus. So that's our world during
Crazy.
the show. Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Kind of sucks that you have to, like, during the show, you have to like pull out your computer, crunch some numbers.
Not really, because
Not really?
you've seen and heard the show for weeks or
Okay.
months during
That's-
rehearsals, and then you've seen the show, several times during the tour, and then Adrienne during TM101, she says that during the show day, there's definitely sounds that trigger certain things that okay, so like when we hear certain song, like, okay, there's like 3 songs from the show getting ready to come down, all right, we need to start closing up cases and stuff, or we hear that song during sound check, so we know that they're getting ready to finish up with sound check.
Like conditioning, you're conditioned.
Exactly. We're definitely Pavlov's dog, definitely. So we know that it's 4:45. Catering's going to be up in 15 minutes. So, your mouth is already starting to water around 4:30, 4:45. So, we're creatures of habit for sure on tour, but every day is different, but there are certain things that trigger certain things during the day. So,
yeah, for sure. Like doing touring, I feel like some people could think like, oh, you're doing the same thing over and over again, but I feel like every day is insane. No,
every day is structured to be the same, but no, you're in a different city, the venue's different, the people that are there working are different, the schedule might be different, something might happen, like a piece of gear gets damaged and you have to repair it. So someone might get sick on the tour. You might have to get them to the hospital or get someone to come down to the venue to take care of them. Or the artist might say, hey, I want to get a haircut. So now you got to find a barber to come down to the venue to cut the artist hair, because you can't have the artist go to a barber shop, because then, there's going to be a mad dash of people showing up, especially once it gets out on social media. So it's structured to be the same every day, but I would say every day is totally different.
How many people do you think is working each show a night? So including the team that goes with the artists and also vendor people.
I can't really answer that because it depends on the size and scope of the tour. Is it a club tour? Is it an arena tour? Is it a stadium tour? Is it a theater tour? So it's all that's a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah, honestly. I believe we covered many, many things.
Yay.
One of the last things I wanted to ask you is if someone's watching, love today, what is the best way they could reach out to you or ask any further questions?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @David51, spelled out, not the numbers. Or you can go to my website, which is david51.com with the numbers, or you could go to my company website that I have with my business partner, Gabby Para, which is tourforensics.com. So check all of those out. Oh, and Tour Forensics is also on Instagram also.
Yeah, that was something I totally forgot to cover. Do you mind talking about your company, Tour Forensics?
Oh, sure. Gabby and I met during Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was the first time I had met her. And for me, we wanted to start a company that was brown faces. So it's me, African-American older guy. Gabby's younger than me and Hispanic, so she's bilingual. And one of the things that we noticed, because Gabby is an amazing production coordinator, is we've noticed the amount of waste that we see on tours. And that's not only, from dressing rooms, but just people wasting money on tours. And we wanted to start a company to kind of help out up and coming artists structure their tours and how to do things more efficiently. And we didn't concentrate on like the bigger acts, because there's other companies that do this, but we really wanted to focus on up and coming acts, and especially in the Hispanic world, African-American world, that we see that people don't get the same chances, don't know how to network. So we really, really wanted to do that. And we don't make a whole lot of money, but we're helping artists that are just starting and stuff. And so one of our current clients is actually a Grammy winner. He's a jazz artist, and we're really helping him out. And he's got dates all the way into late 2022. Our first client was a artist named Dean Lewis, who has won, I think, the equivalent of 77 Grammys, but in Australia. He's from Australia. So due to the time difference between Australia and here in the States, his first tour here in the States, it was very difficult for them to advance their US dates. So they handed the dates to us, and Gabby and I advanced everything. We got the bus, we got the trailer, we staffed it, we got the back line for it. We advanced everything with the venues. And then we put everything in master tour. So once they landed, Gabby and I flew to Washington, D.C. to kind of help them get their sea legs under them, because when they landed in Washington, they landed like 10 o'clock at night, and the show was the next day. So we knew that they were going to have severe jet lag. So we were just extra pairs of hands to kind of help them. So, we helped count and merch. We kind of got the dressing room set up for them. We just made sure all the catering and hospitality and stuff. We did the dressing room signs and all that stuff. So we advanced the entire tour. So we've worked with rock bands, jazz bands, R&B bands, DJs, country artists. So it's my and Gabby's way of also paying it forward, and also being two brown faces to help other people. So
and representation is incredibly important for sure.
So where I'm strong, Gabby might be weak. Where Gabby's strong, I'm weak, and we're kind of helping each other also. So I'm learning a lot of stuff from her. So, and I think she's learning a lot of stuff from me. So,
and that goes back to just how important networking and mentoring is. I honestly love that, how you are helping up and coming artists, helping them be better and paying it forward. Love that idea. Promise, this one's the last question.
Oh, you can keep asking me. I'm all yours. Go ahead.
Thank you. But not sure if I touched on this before, but do you have any general tips for people starting out, or let's see, any applications for people to look into? Like you said, Excel is really big. And I know that a lot of people have this preconceived notion that, oh, I have to go to the school, or I have to do like a music industry major. You're shaking your head.
I think that school helps. But the thing that really helps you the most is actually physically doing it. You can read stuff in a book, but until you actually do it, you have no clue really of what's going on. And one of the things at this launch music conference last week is a lot of bands were asking me, well, how do we get to this level? How do we do this? And I said, so have you guys done a 3-month plan, a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan? No. Okay, so you want to get to this next step. What are you guys going to do to get to that next step? We don't know. Well, until you have a plan, what you guys are just doing is you're kind of like in a boat, and you're just rowing with one paddle right now. So you're just going to keep going in a circle and a circle. You've got to have a plan. And I said, and if you don't have a plan, you're not going to get anywhere. And one of the things that I've seen with artists that are very, very successful is these few things. They say please and thank you. They have good management. They don't hire their homeboys or their friends to be their manager who have no idea of what they're doing. They don't hire their homeboys or their friends or their parents to be their accountants to handle their money, who also have no idea of what they're doing. And they just surround themselves with wrong people. But the biggest thing is they don't have a plan. They're great musicians and stuff, but you can play in a bar pretty much all your life and you want to get to that next level. But if you don't have a plan, what you're doing, like I said, you're just in a boat paddling around and around and around. Have a plan, figure it out. And if you don't know how to figure it out, you've got Google. Figure it out. I mean, it's very, very easy. I'm not going to say it's easy, but to find a plan or to network with people who've gotten to that next level. And also, one of the things I tell people is don't work, if you're a rock band, don't only get the advice for rock bands. get advice from like other bands, hip hop bands, country bands, because you're learning different things from different genres that can help you out. So don't limit yourself. I'm going to put something in the chat here if you want to share with your students. One of my mentees, her name is Amanda Forbes. She was with me also on Well Done. So through Well Done, she's out on tour right now with Dave Matthews Band.
Oh, wow.
And she is killing it. So Amanda had helped me put together this, there it is in the chat for you, called Resources. So it is a Microsoft Excel workbook. So if you look at all the different tabs at the bottom, it's different things that you could share with your students. So there's diversity and inclusion, there's touring, there's college stuff, there's networking stuff, there's different apps that you could check out, there's COVID related stuff. So please share that with anyone and everyone.
For sure.
I think
definitely will.
There's something there. Oh, and there's different books on there that people can check out. So please share it.
For sure. Definitely will. Anything else you want to add other than that, I guess? Yeah.
Network. Don't be scared. Reach out. I mean, like, here's a perfect example. You reached out to me via LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I could have said no or ignored you, but I said, sure, let's do this. And we've been on what, an hour?
Hour or so.
Well, what's an hour out of my day to try to help someone out or help other students out? Not that big of a deal. I mean, like, I'm going to go walk the dogs now and then come back and get on the couch and watch football. I mean, like, it's pay it forward, help other people out, have empathy. It doesn't hurt anyone to help people. So do it. That would be my advice. Reach out to people to network for sure.
And I really appreciate you doing this as well.
Oh, no, I enjoyed it. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sure everyone watching this would love, just love this experience. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for such an incredible insight and just taking the time of your day talking to us for our first digital exclusive. So
awesome. You guys did really, really well. Very impressed.
You.
Very, very impressed.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Right.
Thank you.
See you later.